Hi, my name is Andrew. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to review a fundraising investor database for a client in the energy sector. If you watch my previous videos, you know that you can click my Fiverr link below to get information on investor databases for venture capital, private equity, angel groups, family investment offices, and more. I also help clients with pitch deck reviews. If you're getting ready to send your pitch deck out to investors, I have a service on Fiverr where I will review it for you. Approximately 80% of the pitch decks that I receive are not suitable to be sent out to investors. Databases are now free with a pitch deck review, so that's good news if you are starting to reach out to investors. This includes one sector only per client. Contact me for more details on this program. Please take a second to support my channel by giving it a like, a share, and subscribing. So here are the sectors I am covering with this series of videos, and if you've watched my YouTube channel, you know that I have over 250 videos on databases, fundraising, and other items to help you make pitch decks and business plans. And I've recently covered a series of videos on what databases I have for certain sectors. I've covered off a number of them here on the left, and today we're going to look at energy, and this of course comes from my database of 400,000 investor contacts. So for this exercise, I'm using energy as the keyword. I'm also using clean energy, technology, which is a wider keyword, and alternative investments. So what did the final database include? So when I was using energy as my source, I came up with 4,400 total contacts. That includes 2,600 emails, around 3,000 LinkedIn addresses, and around 3,200 websites. And this included some key contacts with their titles and email addresses. So what type of contacts will benefit from an energy investors database? It could involve renewable energy startups. Those are new enterprises focusing on solar, wind, hydro, and other renewable resources, seeking capital to innovate, scale operations, or tap into new markets. Traditional energy corporations, established oil, gas, and coal companies looking to diversify their portfolios, invest in innovative technologies, or transition to more sustainable energy solutions. Grid and infrastructure developers, that includes entities working on power transmission, energy storage, grid modernization, aiming to enhance infrastructure and integrate new energy solutions. Energy efficiency solution providers, that includes companies specializing in optimizing energy consumption in buildings, industries, and transportation, looking for investors to expand their reach and refine their offerings. So that's one of the key ones that I'm seeing in the past 6 to 9 months. Clean tech innovators, startups and firms developing technologies that reduce environmental footprints, aiming to partner with or get investments from like-minded energy investors. And last, energy policy and research organizations. These are institutions focusing on energy research, policy formation, and advocacy, seeking insights, partnerships, or funding to bolster their initiatives in impact. So let's take a look at the database. So now we're over on the database section, and as you can see here on the bottom, I have the keywords that I used for this search, starting off with energy, clean energy, technology, and alternative investments. And as you see here, we have the country, type, websites, LinkedIn's, emails, also a fair bit of description information for most of these. And on the first list, you can see here that these are mostly going to be USA groups, and they span from private equity, venture capital, micro venture capital. In some cases, they are corporate venture capitals as well, and family investment offices, and a few government type of entities. So the idea behind using these type of databases is not to spam the contacts. I suggest actually having 3 types of letters with different formats that you would go out to contact these type of investors. And I actually have a service on Fiverr where I can help you create those type of letters, so you can check that out. And the reason you have 3 is it allows you to approach different levels for different reasons. When you're going about your fundraising, you should also treat it as a business development exercise. Fundraising is one of the hardest aspects and tasks that a founder is going to do. Most of them do not like it because they get an awful lot of zero response, and it's probably the only thing in their whole career, other than maybe when they first started to look for a job early in life, where you get absolutely no response when you send somebody an email. But the idea behind this is, if you do get a reply, even in many cases when I've done fundraising in previous roles, I would get a reply, but it would be something like, thank you for sending me your information. Unfortunately, this does not fall within our sector right now. Or they may say, thank you for your information, but we don't get involved in pre-seed. Then those are the type of contacts that you want to send a reply back to right away, and obviously acknowledge them for replying to, because it is very rare, to be honest. You send out 100 letters, you may get 4 or 5 that actually come back to you, and that's the facts of fundraising. Unless you have some form of company that is an absolute disruptor or a unicorn. But in most cases, it's people just starting to launch their first company. So when they do contact you, go back to them and say, listen, thank you very much. Do you know anybody else that might be interested? Every single person that works for a private equity firm, a venture capital firm, investment bank, family investment offices, they all know 4 or 5 people within their own industry. They share different ideas, they share different contacts from time to time. Go back to those people that got back to you and ask them for advice. There's an old adage in the fundraising industry that goes, if you ask for funds, you'll probably just get advice. But if you ask for advice from people, you will eventually get funds. And that's something that you should keep in mind when you're doing your fundraising. And set up a spreadsheet for all your responses, so that when somebody does contact you, and then in a year or 2 when you're ready to enter into another round of fundraising or to give it another try, you can go back to that particular person and say, listen, I contacted you a couple years ago. Since then, we've reached X number of sales, we've raised pre-seed funding, or whatever the traction is, and touch base with them. And you'd be surprised how that's generally the trigger for them, because many of them do not like to be the first party that gets involved in your funding. But it's still, because you have the database, those are still people that you should contact on your first try. So let's just go over to the review here. You can see here in the energy we have 4,445, and that's mainly because in the technology field we have a large database of 4,000. Now what I suggest to people who start their fundraising is hit the technology group as well, because they are large, they're broad, and in many cases they do not list every single sector on their website or what they're interested in. I mean, just because you're in energy does not actually mean you're in the oil and gas. You could be into a smaller part of the industry. It could be in the machinery. It could be in monitoring. It could be 100 different things. And you want to make sure that you spread your first fundraising efforts out as wide as you can, but keeping in mind that you may send a different letter to somebody in the technology sector than you will the energy one, or a clean energy as well. So that's why you should have 3 different types of letters. And again, rounding it off, you have 2,600 emails, 3,000 LinkedIns, and around 3,200 websites. The reason the websites are valuable is because you can see here you're going to have many cases where you have 200 websites, but you have only 85 emails and 90 LinkedIns. A lot of the databases that are compiled do not have the emails listed. You have to go to the website. By going to the website, you're either going to find individual contacts that may have their own emails listed on the website, or they most likely are going to have their LinkedIn addresses. So that's why before you go out to any investors, you want to check all the websites, make sure that there's You've got everything covered, because you'd be surprised when you start reading the bios of the parties and the websites will really help you in your fundraising. And that's why you only want to tackle them in groups of 30 to 50. So if you have a large database of 4,000 like this, you might use 10 different approaches in your fundraising. You're certainly not going to go out to all of them at once. So that's how I would arrange a database for somebody who is in the energy sector for their fundraising. Are you looking for updated investor databases? My databases include venture capital, private equity, family offices, angel investors, angel groups, and high net worth investors with over 400,000 verified global contacts. And be sure to check out my full database of family investment offices, the perfect way to access ultra high net worth investors. This is the largest database of family investment offices that you're able to access. There's over 10,000 contacts. Click my Fiverr link below for more information. Thank you for watching this video.